Good evening, everybody. So today is the second day of the class of Four Noble Truths and meditation of the Four Noble Truths. As I mentioned, first day, the teaching about Four Noble Truths is look very simple, looks very easy to understand. If you really study precisely in detail, it's not that easy to understand the complete meaning of Four Noble Truths. The practice of Four Noble Truths is really the foundation of practice of Dharma. Having knowledge about Four Noble Truths also very foundation to know, to realize the complete meaning of Buddha Dharmas. So I try to explain as much as I can. Also, you just should not try to only understand the meaning. Also, please you try to practice it, try to meditate on it, try to overcome the truth of suffering, the origin of suffering, through practice of the path. Then finally, there's a hope we can achieve liberation. If you are not interested achieving liberation, still you can achieve, the samsaric happiness. Also, if you are not really, want to practice the Dharma, still through practice of Four Noble Truths, you can achieve, the mental happiness. So when we talk about Four Noble Truths, first we know, everybody knew the story of Four Noble Truths. When Buddha Shakyamuni was very young age, he always had a lot of questions about why we have sufferings, how we can get rid of sufferings. Due to that reason, he asked a lot of questions to all his masters, teachers. Everybody gave same answer. So the answer was, we have suffering because all the suffering which we have is created by, produced by the Deva, the Bhagavan, the God. So he wasn't happy with these answers. Finally, he totally gave up his, the traditional practice, traditional religion. Then he only stayed in forest, tried to discover the truth. Then through a lot of study, lot of analysis, finally he understood, he discovered the nature of suffering, then the origin, the root of suffering, and also he realized how to get rid of the root of suffering and the suffering, how to achieve liberation, how to achieve, the complete happiness through practice of the truth. That's why we, first he explained the Four Noble Truths through the 5 disciples. The 5 disciples were with him for many years while he was practicing Dharma. Then finally, they left him. So that's why, finally they met in Varanasi after Buddha achieved enlightenment. So Buddha has a few names. The general you can call, Siddhartha. When he was young, his name was Siddhartha. Gautama is the family name. Shakya is his clan name. After he achieved Buddhahood, then people call him Buddha Shakya Muni. The Muni means, like a sage or practitioner. Then there's two concepts. When he really turned wheel of Dharma, most Buddhists believe the first time he turned wheel of Dharma in Varanasi through the 5 disciples. There's another concept in Mahayana tradition. After he achieved enlightenment, right after achieved Buddhahood, he taught teaching about emptiness. So today we going to study about the Sutra of Wheel of Dharma. So the first day I explained what does mean Dharma, what does mean wheel, and Sutra. So everybody must know in Buddhist tradition, in the Buddha teaching, we get divided into 2 types of teaching. One is the Sutrayan teaching about the Sutrayan. Second, teaching about Tantrayan or Vajrayan. That's why this is included into Sutrayan, not Tantrayan. Only Sutra, not Tantra. But the Four Noble Truths is very important, very foundation for the people who practice of the Tantra Yan or Vajrayan. Sutra and Tantra. The wheel has many meanings. Then I said wheel has 3 parts. The center of the wheel, then the spokes, then the ring. The center of the wheel is symbolic of the practice of ethical discipline, practice of Shila. Then the spokes are the symbolic of the wisdom. Then the ring of the wheel is symbolic of the practice of practice of dhan or practice of mindfulness. If you consider as a Buddhist practitioner follow Buddha Dharma, first you have to practice the morality, be moral person, always try to be ethical person. Be ethical. Second, when you practice Dharma, when you believe in Dharma, all the practices, all the belief system, all the beliefs you must have based on wisdom and knowledge through knowing the Dharma, how to practice. What does mean Dharma? That means wisdom. If you have only ethical discipline, if you practice only morality, not wisdom, you really cannot overcome from the suffering and the cause of suffering. The first important is practice of morality, practice of Shila. That means within the Tipitaka, practice of Vinaya. So, as a lay person, you can practice the lay person. You can take you can accept the layperson vows, practice the 5 precepts. Then the last, even though you are always be ethical person, you always, be ethical person, practice Shila, you have very good Shila. Shil means like a cooling. The Shil means the cooling. So for example, when you feel hot, if there's a like cool wind, you feel relieved, you feel happy. When you are totally under the negative thoughts, negative action, when you practice morality, you feel good, you feel happy about. That means Shil means cool. Yes, you practice Shila, you have the good wisdom, you know the two truths, you know the Four Noble Truths, you know all the meaning of Dharma. If you don't do meditation, then you have a center of the wheel, you have the spokes, but no ring. Then you cannot completely use the wheel. The wheel is very important, symbolic in Buddhism. The Dharma has 2 meanings generally. One meaning, Dharma means transforming, right? So when you practice Dharma, you need to transform your mind. Look at, generally there are many people who don't believe, don't accept Dharma or religion. Second, there are so many people who believe in religion, who believe in Dharma, who follow in Dharma. Third, there are so many people who are believe in Dharma, believe in religion, as well as believe in Dharma. So you must think what is the differences, different mental altitude the people have. The people who believe in Dharma, who don't believe in religion, the people who believe in Dharma, the people who believe in the, like Buddha Dharma. So if you are able to transform your mind from very ordinary way of thinking to better way of thinking, better way of thinking to very better of thinking, that means you are follow the Dharma. Dharma means transforming, transform your mind. So when you practice Dharma, you don't have to change your external, the way of looking. You can wear whatever you want, or you can eat, you can drink whatever you want. The most important, you really have to control your negative thoughts. You really have to control your way of thinking, transforming. And when we practice Dharma, we should not think, after I believe in Dharma, after I practice Dharma, everything could change. Everything, change in better way because of the Buddha. It's a kind of misunderstanding. You can change by yourself. You must transform by yourself using the methods, means the Dharma. Second meaning of Dharma, I explained in the last class. I hope you remember. Dharma means like a chö or hold. There's another meaning. When you practice Dharma, the Dharma hold, restrain you to have a negative thoughts. Most important meaning, all phenomenon, permanent, impermanent, ugly, beauty, small, big, doesn't, all phenomena must have a very unique characteristics. Even though within the mind we have a attachment, we have a compassion. The attachment, compassion are both mind. When you study the nature of attachment, the nature of compassion, you can see they have a very unique, characteristic, unique quality, dharma. Then homage to the omniscient one is a very Tibetan tradition. So in Tibetan tradition, when the Buddha teaching translate into Tibetan language, they always put into three categories. Vinaya teaching, Abhidharma teaching, then Abhighosha, right? Yeah, Abhidharma, Vinaya, Sutrayan, three baskets. The teaching which is included into, Sutraya, not the Vinaya, not Abhidharma, then at the beginning, they always pay homage to the omniscient one, omniscient. The omniscient, because in the Christian, from the Christian concept, there's an omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. The omniscient is different meaning. Omniscient means knowing the nature of all phenomena. Then thus did I heard at one time. I hope you remember, thus means the subject matter, which is the Four Noble Truths. Did I heard from whom? Buddha Shakyamuni. How many times? One time. One time. That means receiving teaching from Buddha. Hearing from the teaching from Buddha is very rare. They say, thus did I heard one time. One meaning is so rare. Second, I heard only one time, but I remember all the words, I realize all the meaning. This means, the disciple has an incredible ability to memorize the words, realize the subject. That means I heard one time, but I remember the meanings, I realize the meaning, I remember all the words. That means explain, show the, unbelievable ability of the disciples. Then I heard from whom? Buddha. That means all the teaching, I heard directly from Buddha, not through other. Then next verse is just talking about where he give the teaching. The blessed one, Buddha was residing in the deer park, Rasivandana by Varna Asi. There's a two word, right? Varna Asi. Because when you go to Varna Asi, you can see the two rivers come together. One is a Varna, one is Asi. Two rivers joined together. That's what we call Varna Asi. Varna Asi. At that time, Blessed One spoke to the group of 5 monks. In Tibetan language, not only say monks, full ordains. Maybe the first time, when he explained the Four Noble Truths, I don't think at the beginning the 5 disciples were monks. Maybe they were sadhu, not really like a bhikshu, because they didn't have, the full ordained vows. Somebody say, 5 disciples. Somebody use, 5, monks. Somebody use 5 full ordains. I think better to say, 5 disciples. Then look at, as I focus my mind correctly on the thing that I had not threatened to hurt. Tell me, he has a, lot of doubt. Why we have suffering? Where all the suffering come from? Then he was a lot of doing meditation, study, analysis. Then to correctly on the thing that I had not had thought to hurt, thinking this is suffering, a truth of noble being. Vision arose, knowledge, apprehension, understanding, realization. That means when he fully focused thinking about the truth of suffering, then first he realized truth of suffering. Then he reached to first path. That means vision, first path, which is path of accumulation. Knowledge, second path, path of preparation. Third, apprehension, path of the seeing path. Understanding, meditation path of meditation. Last one, realization. So he achieved realization through practice of truth of suffering, then first path, second, third, fourth, fifth. All of meaning same, vision, knowledge, apprehension, understanding, realization. Vision mean when you see something, you just see the object, not so clear. So when you go more closer, then you can see the perfect phenomena. That means look like you have a perfect knowledge about the phenomena. When you see the phenomena, then you have to study how things are exist, how the object is exist. Then finally you can see the selflessness of phenomena, or you can name emptiness. When you meditate on emptiness for many years, then you can reach to the, you fully understood the emptiness. That means the meditation path. Then realization. The next one, Sam, monks, as I focus my mind correctly on the thing that I had thought to hurt, thinking this is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the path lead to the cessation of suffering. Here, look at first, truth of suffering. What is the second? Origin of suffering. Third, cessation of suffering. The last one, path to lead to the cessation. This is very important, okay? So look at, everybody every day wish to happy, don't want suffering. That means we must recognize the truth of suffering, right? For example, before you take the medicine, you must know what kind of sickness, disease you have. Then you must take the medicine. First, everybody must realize the truth of suffering. The truth of suffering not arise costless, permanent cost, wrong cost. Right? Make sure the suffering is not arise through costless. That means it just arise without anything. It is impossible. It arise through cause. That means you need to recognize the origin of suffering. Right? Origin of suffering. So suffering, there are so many types of suffering you cannot count. You cannot have a perfect numbers. Simply you can think, there are 3 types of suffering. Pervasive suffering, suffering of change, then suffering of suffering. So for the non-Buddhist people, they're able to recognize suffering of suffering, changing of suffering, but not the pervasive suffering. So recognizing the pervasive suffering is a very unique practice in Buddhism. That means, look at why we have suffering. That means we have the dukkha, the physical body, right? The physical body. The physical body is not just arise without causeless. It is arise through cause. Then second, changing of suffering. Morning you are very happy. After a while, the happiness totally change. When the happiness becomes manas, then you can feel, I'm not happy, I am suffering. Actually, the happiness slowly become minimized, then it become suffering. Changing of suffering. Then suffering of suffering. That means the last two suffering, suffering of suffering, changing of suffering, based on the pervasive suffering. The pervasive suffering arises through the origin of suffering, right? So there are so many kind of origin or cause of suffering, mainly two things, which is afflictive emotions and karma. Afflictive emotions and karma are the main cause of the sufferings. So, when you practice Four Noble Truth, first you recognize the truth of suffering. Physical sufferings or mental suffering. Then you should think the suffering which is I have is not really, come being to exist without causeless, with the permanent cause, with the wrong cause. It arises through causes and conditions. The causes and conditions are impermanent. So then finally you're going to recognize, yes, the afflictive emotions include ignorance are the origin of suffering. Due to ignorance, due to attachment, desire, anger, hatred, or wrong perception, then we have a negative actions or positive actions. The negative action, positive actions, you can say negative and positive. When we experience the result of two actions, still you can feel, you can experience the suffering. It looks like two snakes. One snake is black, one snake is white. When we see the white snake look so beautiful, so clean, when the snake bite you, it kill you. Right? Doesn't matter positive actions or negative actions, still it produce the suffering but different level. Now we study, Buddha said, this is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is cessation. This is the path to lead to the cessation. Second, you recognize the origin of suffering, then you need to think, the origin of suffering, I really want to eliminate, I wish to eliminate, I want to, get rid of them. Then you ask question, how I can get rid of? It is possible to eliminate the origin of suffering or not? Not. Then you need to think about the path. For example, when you recognize, you have a serious illness. So then you need to check with the doctor, it is able to cure or not. If the doctor exactly recognize the sickness, then the doctor say, if you take this medicine, your sickness is curable. That means when you fully understand the path to lead to the cessation, then you fully believe the cessation of the truth. That means Midya Buddha said, you must recognize the illness. Then you must recognize the causes and condition of the illness. It able to eliminate, able to purify. Then after you fully understood, yeah, I have an illness, those are the cause, I able to eliminate. Then you need to take the medicine. You take the medicine, not just one morning, just one day. Continuously you must take the medicine every day until fully cure the sickness. So that means, we do meditation, we do practice just one morning, maybe 5 minutes, the whole day. We don't do practice of Dharma. That's why we are not able to reduce our suffering. We are not able to eliminate our suffering because we put very little effort. Okay, that means you put the right effort continuously until get rid of the origin of suffering. Then you can achieve cessation through practice of the path. The cessation, many people think, achieving Buddhahood, achieving enlightenment, achieving liberation, becoming Buddha, becoming Arhat. Many people think, so we have to go somewhere. Many people believe, pure land and Buddhahood, Buddha land somewhere we can go. Buddha can come here. Actually, there's not such a thing. So, in the historically, we believe Buddha Shakyamuni achieved Buddhahood. Where? India. India is not Buddha land. And then where? And then Buddha Thiri. Bihar, definitely not Buddha. Bihar is not really, Buddha land for us. Right, for us. So Buddha Shakyamuni, when he achieved Buddhahood, when he became Buddha, he became Buddha and Bihar under the Buddha Thiri, Buddhi Thiri. For him, this place is pure land, Buddha land. For us, samsaric land. Do you believe? Do you think Buddha went somewhere, achieved Buddhahood and came back to Bodh Gaya? No. That's why many of you, practice pure land. Wish to born in pure land. You should not think pure land, there's a certain place you can go. You just practice pure land. Where you practice, the land become pure. The cessation mean, think about, the origin of suffering is within us, right? Ignorance within us, attachment within us, anger within us, the karmas within us. When you practice, the paths, at unfold area paths, or emptiness, impermanence, whatever path. So slowly, through practice, the negative thoughts slowly going to reduce. Then positive thoughts increase. When negative thought reduce 50%, positive thought increase 50%. When the negative thought reduce 80%, the positive thoughts, the positive mind, the pure mind increase 80. When negative thoughts fully reduce in the 0%, then the positive mind, the pure mind, the Buddha mind, it fully become 100%. Then we can call, the person, he or she, rich or poor, ugly or beauty, we can consider the person is Arhat. The person achieve Buddhahood, enlightened being, liberation. When we think this way, okay, practice Dharma, you don't have to be like a monks and nuns. Just always look at your mind. Make sure you won't have negative thoughts. When you realize the negative thoughts is arising, you must reduce through practice of the path. Then within the add unfold area paths. Also the path you can include into 3 practices: practice of Shila, practice of acts of wisdom, practice of meditative concentration. All practices, what kind of practice you do must include into 3 practices. For example, when you recite mantra, be ethical and should not have any harmful thoughts to other. Make the recitation. That means you are practicing Shila. When you recite the mantra, you fully focus on, the Buddha, or you fully focus the chosen object. That means you are practicing mindfulness, right? Mindfulness. All the practices you must done, you based on realize, based on knowing. That means even though you recite, like 20 times Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Ami Devara, Om Bhajan Guru Pema Siddh, 20 times. Within the 20 time, period of time, you are practicing 3 of them: Shila, mindfulness, and wisdom. When you practice Shila, it reduces the negative thoughts. When you practice wisdom, it really, eliminate the negative thoughts. When you practice the concentrative, right? There's an English word, meditative concentration. That means you always aware. That means, for example, somebody asks you to, okay, I have a box. In the box, I have like gold, diamond, or money. Somebody asks you to look at. That means you always have to look the box, right? If you just, look somewhere, somebody will steal the box. That means meditation look like always focus on the object with the fully awareness. That means, suffering, origin of suffering, through practice of the path, you can seize the ignorance. Then attachment, desire. So there's a true orders of the Four Noble Truths. When Buddha explained, he first explained the truth of suffering. The truth of suffering is the result of what? Result of origin of suffering. Am I right? Right. Then third time, he explained cessation. Then part to the cessation. That means he first explained the result, then cause, the true truth. Then another true truth, right? Cessation and the path. The cessation is look like result. The paths are look like cause. That means he explained the result, second the cause. This is how he introduced. Another order, origin first, then suffering is second. The path is first, the cessation is second. There's an order of how to, practice. There's another order how to arise. Then why Buddha first explained truth of suffering? Why not the origin of suffering? That's why Buddha said, this is suffering. You must realize. Right? Second, say, this is origin of suffering. You must eliminate. You must purify. Third, this is cessation of sufferings. You must achieve. Then the last one, this is path, lead to cessation. You must cultivate. Is a very, very big advice. That means when you practice Dharma, always reflect on the suffering, suffering in the lower realms, suffering in the 3 realms, like a desire, form, desire, celestial being, and lower beings. You just fully recognize the suffering. When you try to recognize suffering, you should not look other people have suffering, or dead people have suffering, those people are suffering. You should not. You just always look yourself. I have a suffering. I have a physical suffering. I have a mental suffering. I have an emotional suffering. I must reduce. Then slowly you go more deeper level. What are the cause and condition? That means First, ignorance. Second, afflictive emotions. Third, karma. Right? Karma. So now we little bit studied about how the ignorance, what's the nature, what does mean ignorance? Everybody, have been talking about ignorance. When we look at the single phenomena, even though you look or whatever look, we have a lot of misunderstanding about the reality. For example, most of you had saw me, last Tuesday, right? Tuesday. So we met again today. We say we met again. That means we have a confusion about the time. We have a confusion of the person. When you think, I met, Geshe Yönden, when you see me, if you think I met this Geshe Yönden last week, there's a confusion, right? So the Geshe Yönden who right now exists here, right now exists on the like a chair or table or the throne, it wasn't exist last week. But we have a confusion about the phenomena. Then many people say, I'm so happy, I met you. You're pointing whom the person, I met you where? I met you last year. It makes sense or doesn't make sense? You pointing the person, let's say, who become quite fatty. When you met the person, you say, I met you. The last time he was quite skinny. This year he or she is quite fatty. The person not same, right? But we think, I met you last year. When the person really try to remember the person which he met last year, he was skinny. Today, the person is quite fatty. But we still think same person. So we have an ignorance about the time, ignorance about the entity of the phenomena, ignorance about the reality. That's why we say, the wrong perception about, perception on thing perceived as a permanent. We have a misperception about, that suffering perceived for us as a pleasant. We have a wrong or misperception about the reality. And the reality is a different, we perceive in different way. That means ignorance, means misperception, misunderstanding about the truth, the reality. So within the ignorance, we don't care, we have an ignorance about the house or car or land, we don't care much. We must think, I have an ignorance about myself. I have an ignorance about I, self. Ignorance. That means there's two types of ignorance, right? What are they? Ignorance on phenomena, ignorance on self or person or being. That's why Buddha, when he explained the first truth, first he explained impermanent. Impermanent, right? Impermanent. Make sure impermanent is the first step to practice of Four Noble Truth. So if you realize impermanence, certainly you have a less attachment, desire, anger. And also you have a less kind of, wanting so many things. So, based on ignorance, there's an attachment. Based on attachment, there's an anger. Based on anger, then we have a sense of hatred. This is how things, how arise, ignorance. So in order to fully understood, have a good understanding about the origin of suffering and suffering, we must study the 12 links interdependence. This means, the rise, Seedling Sutara. Then next, clear, right? The first, this is suffering, you must recognize. This is origin of suffering, you must eliminate. This is the cessation of suffering, you must achieve. How you can achieve? Achieve within your mind. Cessation also is, will be the quality of your mind. Because when the mind become pure, completely become pure, then you achieve cessation. You cease all the defilements, including ignorance. Then how you can achieve the cessation? Then last Buddha said, this is the path to lead to cessation. You must cultivate. You must cultivate. How we can cultivate the path? How? Through just only chanting, praying, aspiration? No. Lot of meditation. Meditation is so important because we Buddhist people believe nirvana, Buddhahood, enlightenment, bodhicitta, karma body. We believe so many things, but we haven't achieved anything because we don't do meditation. Someone does not continuously. Even when they does, they does based on out of misunderstanding. So you must do lot of meditation. Then we little bit talk about ignorance, right? Ignorance. So there are two types of ignorance. Ignorance on the phenomena, ignorance of the self. How self means I. Self means I, me, I and me. You just say I. How I exist? Is exist as a permanent or not? I is permanent? I is permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. Why? Why? Yeah, arise through causes condition. Right? This is the important logic. All the conditioned phenomena are subject to change. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent because arising through causes and condition. This is the logic. Then mean the things, the phenomena which is arise through causes and condition, subject to be changed, definitely impermanent because it's arising through causes and condition. This is a logic. When it depending on causes condition, there's a 3 levels. Okay. For example, when you try to understand I, yes, today eyes depending on yesterday eyes. This evening eyes form are exist because exist dependent on the afternoon eye, the afternoon like a form. That's why this afternoon eye form are the causes and condition of this moment I. Am I right? This means depend on cause and condition. This is the first level of dependent origination. Dependent origination. Dependent origination. The second meaning is bit become more bit profound. That means the eyes is depend on part and wholes, right? Wholes. The perfect sound. Parts and whole, right? Whole. That means like the cup has a many parts. That means the complete one we call whole. Then part and whole, depending on parts and whole. This is the second meaning of dependent origination. The last one, the third one, depending on Nam and Tram. Tam, right? Tram. Depending on merely only name and thoughts. Clear? Depending on cause and condition. Depending on past and whole. Then last one, depending on thoughts and name or tram. Now look at simply this lid of the cup is depending on causes and condition. That means it has its own previous cause and condition. That means this is just exists now. It exists depending on the previous just moment, one moment before there's a cup lid. That means this lid of the cup is arising based on their own cause and condition. Now, there's a part and whole. Now within the cup lids, it has a billions of particles. It has a eastern parts, western parts, south, west, many parts. When we say the lid, it not just, simply say it's lit because it's depend on causes condition. It lit because it depend on many parts of this is within these parts. Right? Depending on causes and condition, depending on parts and whole. Whole mean look at parts meaning many particles, many parts. Whole mean this complete. Actually, what is this? Simply, what is this? It depends on, if I say just pointing only this part, you can say this is part of the lid. Right? Whole, what is this whole thing? All come together. What is this? Do it is lit? If you think, the all came together, if you say it's become lit, that means think about the cars. Okay? There's a wheel, there's a steering, all the engine, everything. If you put together, do you consider this is a car? All come together, put together. Do you consider this is a car? No, it cannot function as a car. You need to put together, right? That means, parts and whole. It's all whole. Whole is not the lid of the cup. The parts, everything come together, put together, then it's become basis of the cup. Basis. Based on this thing, then we can name lid. How this become lid? Who give, right? The name as a lid. First time, who give the name? Someone, right? Someone. So before the person give a name, he has a thought. He has a thought, he has a motivation. He thought, why not? This we can call lid. Since this phenomena become lid, based on thoughts, have a thought, then name. Lid is the name, like the sound is the name. Name of what? This phenomena. Right? This means three. So, in order to realize the truth of the phenomena, first you think about depending on cause and condition. Then depending on parts and whole. Finally, depending on only, merely, name and thoughts. Finally, you're going to realize all phenomena merely designation. Then it stop the misconception. Everything exists independently. Okay? We always think everything exists independently. Right? But for example, when you get angry with someone, you really pointing to someone, you are bad. right? You're just pointing something there. You can criticize. You are bad. Where you pointing the finger towards the forehead? You say when you say you are bad, where you pointing to the person, right? Where you put more closer, your forehead. You say you are bad. The forehead is not you, right? You are bad. Whenever get angry, we think there's something which is we can angry towards the thing is exists solidly. Also, when we have attachment, right? When we have attachment, we really have very strong attachment towards something we can think this is exists solidly. When you study, slowly, closely, there nothing you can release, there is attachment, anger, everything look like a illusion, everything look like just dream. Then finally, you're going to understand the concept, the thoughts, which is totally false. The thought which is perceived things exist as independent, the thought is wrong. This is ignorance. Due to the misperception, we have an attachment. Due to attachment, we have an anger. When we have anger, we have a hatred. That's when whole our life, when we say I'm not happy, that means our mind is controlled by anger, attachment, desire. So that's why Buddha said, you must recognize. Then most important here, look at. The second, I think, the monk focused on my mind correctly on the thing that I had not hitherto heard, thinking this is the origin of suffering. That means same the origin of suffering, all the way go, you can go. With the higher knowledge. Okay, second look is the 1.6. 1.5. 1.5 also higher knowledge, right? Higher knowledge. First, you think this is a suffering. Second, you really put lot of study, analytical meditation. Then you can fully understood, going to understand this is the truth of suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the lead to the cessation. Then third, you're not just thinking, just recognize, not just wish to achieve Buddhahood, wish to eliminate negative thoughts. Then through your practice, finally, you can eliminate the origin of suffering, achieve the nirvana through practice of the path. Okay, next, we little bit study how we can cultivate the path, right? Recognize the truth of suffering, then recognize the origin of suffering, wish to eliminate through cultivation of the path. How we can cultivate? This means it depends on you. What kind of practice you want to do, you want to practice. If you really just want to practice, have a peace mind, just simply happy mind, then you don't need to think about, the nature of samsara, nature of suffering. You just do single pointed meditation. You just fully focus on, one single object for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Then reduce all the, the busy mind, the, the destructive mind. You just fully focus on a single object. Then you have a happy mind, you have a peaceful mind. But it doesn't mean you minimize the negative thoughts. Right? There's one option. You can consider meditation, but according to Buddhist tradition, we can say this is the mindfulness, concentration, not meditation. Meditation. Because meditation in Tibetan language is Om. Like Om. Om means you fully focus on the virtuous object. Virtuous object. If you fully focus on a flower, if we Buddhists, we not consider as meditation. We can say concentration, mindfulness. You can mindful on the flower for 10 or 20 minutes. You can reduce all the busy mind. Feel happy is good. Second, if you're not just looking, the peaceful mind, happy mind, you really want to eliminate the root of the suffering, then based on 4 noble truths, based on the first 2 truths, you need to generate the renunciation. 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 If you're able to cultivate renunciation, then all your practice become pure practice of Dharma. Clear? If you able to cultivate renunciation, the practice become very pure practice, Dharma practice. Otherwise, even though many, like monks and nuns and bhikshu and bhikshuni, sometimes many monks and nuns, they do practice in order to have a name and fame, like a welfare things. Look like they are doing practice of Dharma, but not doing practice of Dharma because they don't have the pure renunciation. All the practice, haven't done based on renunciation. So you must have a renunciation, renounce with the samsara. That means renunciation and generating mind thoughts, Buddhahood, liberations are different. That means you really feel I'm not happy in my home. That means you have a kind of renunciation. You have a sense of renounce with your house where you are placed. It doesn't mean you're going to move, really wish to move somewhere. There's 2 minds, right? One, you really not happy with the house, this samsara. Second mind, you want to go somewhere. You must have 2 minds. You must renounce with the samsara, samsaric action, samsaric happiness, renounce. And second, you generate the very strong aspiration to be free from suffering, to achieve liberation. Based on 2 things, renunciation, the strong aspiration to achieve liberation of Buddhahood, then you start to cultivate the paths. The truth of the path to lead to the cessation, renunciation. Second, if you not just want to practice, the path, I want to practice the path with the Mahayana practices. That means then you can add, top of renunciation, you need to add great compassion, then bodhicitta, then emptiness. So last class, last week I explained, there's a different way how to generate bodhicitta, how to generate, how to realize emptiness. So, sometimes we have a lot of confusion. We have been doing so many different practices. Sometimes we ourselves don't know what kind of practices I'm doing. Very clear, very simple one. Focus on the 4 noble truths. First, focus on the 2 truths. Third, to generate the renunciation. Second, focus on the 2 truths, cessation. Then cultivate the path. How to cultivate? Generate renunciation. Generate the mind towards achieving liberation. Then you fully meditate on renunciation or great compassion, this thing. Then next, here Buddha said here, look at, I think 1 pond. In a rose, I focus on my mind correctly on the higher, that I had not thinking with the higher knowledge I will comprehend suffering. Oh, yeah. Then Buddha said, I not just recognize, I fully eliminate suffering. I fully eliminate truth of origin of suffering. I fully fully realize cessation, fully accomplish the path. The complete because of the meaning. There are so many words. So when we study the Four Noble Truths, please everybody should not study as reading a story, because the truth of suffering within you, the origin of suffering is also within you. The path which is lead to the cessation, we have a basis path because we have a great compassion. We have a kind of strong faith and belief into law of causality. Actually, we have the basis of the path. Also, we have kind of the little bit basis of cessation, right? For example, when you get very strong angry, you practice compassion. When you practice compassion, you feel it. You feel the anger is bit, reduced. That means you achieve, kind of certain kind of cessation, not complete cessation. You cease little bit. That means based on your experience about the truth of suffering, origin of suffering, cessation of suffering, the path lead to cessation, then slowly you can think, more wider way about the Four Noble Truths. So I will just stop here about just introduction about little bit Four Noble Truths. Next we more focus on meditation. So we have to learn few things. Okay, so within the six perfections, so meditative stabilization and wisdom. At the first, what meditative stabilization is. That means what does mean meditation? Second, how to begin the cultivation of meditative stabilization. Third, divisions of meditative stabilization. How to practice samadhi. There's a five. What meditative stabilization, how to begin, division, how to practice samadhi. Very important one here, meditative stabilization is our virtues. Okay, that means the meditative stabilization is always virtues. If you focus on just neutral object, it never become meditation. Meditative stabilization is virtues. On pointed state of mind, they stay fixed on the object of meditation without distraction to other things. That means it teach you what does meditation. The nature of meditation is virtues, positive minds. It's mind. If it is mind, that means it must have an object. Must have an object. Subject, object. All the minds we call subject. For example, attachment is a subject, is a mind. Is focused on what? Beautiful object. Anger focus on what? ugly object. Compassion focus on what? Compassion focus on sentient beings. Right? That means the meditations is our mind, is our virtues, is focused on the chosen object. Chosen object mean, so we can learn little. For example, before you meditate, you need to select the object. Make sure you select the right object. Then after you select the object, then your mind always fix on the object of meditation without distraction to other things. For example, when you meditate on truth of suffering, first you recognize the truth of suffering, then your mind fully focus on the truth of suffering, should not focus on other things. Right? Another important, many people look at when they do meditation, first they're looking at object. When while they're doing meditation, look like they are still looking at the object. Okay, it is very misunderstanding about how to meditate on. First, for example, when you meditate on truth of suffering, first you need to know, you need the right knowledge about truth of suffering. When you understood the suffering, you have a picture, right? You have a picture of truth of suffering or suffering in your mind. You just fully absorb the image in your mind. For example, let's say, everybody meditate on impermanence and death. You should not look like, you're looking at the cemetery. You're not look like looking at the dead body. First you look at the dead body, get a picture of the dead body in your mind. Like imaginary in your mind. Then you just focus on the image of the dead body which is in your mind. When you meditate on, impermanence, through your analytical meditation, you got certain understanding of impermanence in your mind. You just fully remember the impermanence which is in your mind. You should not look at the external object. Because the meditation is, quality of your mind is not the external object. This means fix on the object of meditation without distraction to other things. Then, how to begin the cultivation of meditative stabilization? Think over benefit of cultivating meditative stabilization and the faults of not cultivating it. So, before you do meditation, you first know the benefits of the meditations. The faults of the false is not right. What you can say? We have another one word. Instead of using false, benefit of meditation, then the opposite benefit. Or disadvantage. It's better to use the disadvantage of the, not cultivating the meditation. So what kind of benefit you can have if you do meditation? What kind of benefit you can have? What kind of benefit you can have? It's explained later, we go through. We have a physical problems, we have a mental problem, emotional problem, right? The most of the physical problem you can control through exercise, through doing yoga, through eating healthy food. You can avoid avoid the physical problems, the most of them. But becoming, aging and death, we cannot control. Somehow, many young people, when they're getting older, when they see, the gray hair, people feel upset, unhappy. I'm okay. I'm fully bald, but I'm very happy about my bald. But we must, accept the truth, the reality. Many physical problems we can avoid through exercise, yoga, whatever. Finally, the aging and death, we cannot control. We have to go through, right? But the meditation, when we say you do meditation, I'm not going to say, you can be young forever, right? Cannot. Also, I'm not going to say, if you do a lot of meditation, you can be a very rich person. I'm going to say, if you do meditation, you have a happy mind. You become more happy person. When I say happy or unhappy, it depends on what? Your mental quality. Right? Mental quality. The mental quality you can achieve through only meditation. There's so many benefits you can have. Mostly, you can have a happy mind, peaceful mind. If you have a happy mind, peaceful mind, you have a happy life. Right? So first you need to think about the benefit of cultivating the meditative civilization and disadvantage of not cultivating. Now the division. So how many different types of meditations? There are so many types of meditation, so many kinds of meditation. Mainly we have two types. What are they? Karma body, special insight. Okay. Also you can say, karma body and special insight. Also you can say, the look at, if you subdivide meditative civilization according to nature, there are two kinds, mundanes and supreme mundanes. If you do so according to the orientation, there are three kinds towards serenity, towards insight, or towards both conjunct. Right? That means only you can have meditation on the karma body, only special insight, then the compound. Clear? That means you fully focus on something, just focus, not doing any analytical meditation, just focus. That means, you just look at an object, simply just fully looking at the object. You're not doing any study. Sometimes you're not focusing, you're doing a lot of study the object. You're moving your thoughts, toward the object. Sometimes you have a combination, you fully focus, at the same time you're doing analysis. That means, three types. If you divide it is according to the function, there are three types, right? According to functions, according to nature, then thought. Okay, this is now how to. First, you must know the nature of meditation. Second, you must think about the benefit benefit of meditation and disadvantage of the meditation. Third, you know what kind of meditation you must do. Only mindfulness or only analytical meditation or both. Then how to practice. Whenever you practice any virtuous meditative civilization, you do so in association with the 6 supremacies and all 6 perfections. Right? I hope the people who attend Lamrim class, they remember the 6. What are they?
Supreme aim,
Huh?
supreme aim, supreme aim,
Huh?
supreme basis, supreme thing, supreme aim,
Uh-huh.
supreme skill in means, supreme dedication, and supreme authority.
Oh, very good. So if you do little advanced types of meditation, then you have to compound, the practice with the 6 perfections and the 6 supreme messes. So next we just, study the very basis of meditation. Meditation is also very important. I think so. Now you learn, what does mean meditation. Second, how to begin the meditation. Third, what types of meditation there are. Now we learn, we're going to learn few important things. Here, the particular how to train in the last 2 perfections. First, the benefit of cultivating serenity and the insight. Second, how serenity and insight include all state of meditative concentrations. Third, the nature of serenity and insight. Why it is necessary to cultivate both. How to be certain about this order. Okay, make sure serenity is karma barding. Right? Karma barding. Special insight, because the meaning karma barding again is Tibetan language translated into English. In Tibetan we say yi ne, calm, then abiding. Calm means, when you do meditation, you must calm all the negative thoughts. Then fully focus the object continuously. That's why I call calm abiding, yine. The special insight. We Tibetan have a la thong. La means special. Thong means insight, see. Okay, how to train in the last 2 perfection as a 4 subheading. The benefit of cultivating the serenity and insight. How serenity and insight include all state of meditative concentrations. That means whatever you do, meditation, concentration, it must include into 2 practices. Serenity and special insight. Okay, that means you're not really talking about the real, like a karma barding. For example, when you focus object for 1 minute, your mind fully focus on it, will include into karma barding practice. When you do little, analytical meditation, analyze about phenomena, analyze about yourself, things, it include into special insight. Include. It's not the real one, you can say, include. Then, the nature of the serenity and insight. What it is necessary to cultivate both. Why? Why we have to practice karma barding and special insight together, both? Why it's not enough to practice only one? Right? So because most of you are very interested in meditation, you must know I have to practice karma barding as well as special insight. If you practice only one, like karma barding, you have a focused mind, but the focused mind cannot reduce, eliminate, attachment, desire, anger. If you have only, special insight, if you know, if you realize the truth, emptiness, impermanence, if you know everything, if you not fully focus, you cannot, have a progress about your practice. That means you have to focus as well as you have to do the analytical meditation. Why it is necessary to cultivate both? How to be certain about their order. Now think about order. First, you must practice karma binding. Second, special insight. Special insight. The benefit of cultivation, the benefit of cultivating serenity and insight, all of the mundane and supramundane good qualities of the Mahayana and Hinayana are the result of serenity and insight. Doesn't matter, mundane quality, good quality, supreme mundane good qualities, Mahayana qualities, Hinayana result of quality, all of is result of two, which is special insight and karma binding. Is the result. There's a question. Then how does it inside the cultivation? Then say to cultivate both. Okay. Now we little bit study about how to do the real meditation. How to train the meditative serenity? Number one, relying on the precondition for meditative serenity. Okay, first rely on precondition for meditative serenity. That means before you meditate, you must have all the preconditions. Second, how to cultivate serenity on the basis. Third, the measure of successful cultivation of serenity. That means how I know, I fully, successfully cultivate, karma binding, how we know. Right? First, rely on preconditions. Second, how to cultivate serenity on the basis. Third, the measure. Measure means exactly how know he or she, I accomplish the karma binding, how we know. There's three things. Now rely on the precondition for meditative serenity is first, number one, there should have 5 attributes, 5 conditions. So when you do meditation, for like 1 week or 2 weeks, 5 days, even though 1 day, look at easy access. So that necessities such as food and clothing may be readily obtained. So when you do meditation for 1 day, make sure whatever you need of food and drink, everything there. Second, being a good place to live, right? To live where there are no wild beasts and such as enemies. So you must collect all the necessity which you need for 1 hour or 2 hours. If you need a water, you just keep water on you. If you need to eat some kind of fruits, or you just keep close to you. Then the place where you do meditation have to be very quiet. Very quiet. No lot of distraction. Then being a good piece of ground. That means where you do meditation, the place must be very clean. Then offering the good companionship. And so far as your compassion are the ethically disciplined, and if you have a friends, who doing meditation with you, they also must be disciplined. Because you are doing meditation, you have friends, making a lot of noisy, you cannot do meditation. This is a very basic thing you have to learn. Easy to access what you need, good place, being a good piece of ground, have a good companionship, this is the external condition. The inner condition now, having little desire. Okay, so if you wish to practice meditation, you should not have a lot of desire in your mind. If you have a lot of desire, why are you doing meditation? You have all the minds pop up in your mind. Okay, the inner condition, you having little desire and being contentment. You have a less desire, must have a contentment, completely giving up many activities. Even though you cannot, give up all the activities, but while you are doing meditation, you should totally, stop, doing many other activities. For example, nowadays very common, you keep your phone next to you, you ring, you have to reply, you have to text, you should not do this kind of thing. Completely give up many activities. Pure ethical discipline. Completely getting rid of the thoughts of desire. This is the inner condition. Right? Now, how to cultivate the serenity on the basis? Here's two parts: preparation, actual practice. That means, you need a quiet place, you need to collect what which you need, and you need a good, practice partner. Then less a desire, be content, giving up many activities, pure ethical discipline, and completely getting rid of the thoughts of desire. Now, how we can cultivate, how we can practice, karma bonding? There's two parts: preparation, actual practice. Preparation. Preparation, practice the six priority teaching explained above, and especially cultivate for the long term. Also, you should be meditative practices shared with the person or small. So this is talking about the people who practice bodhicitta. When you practice bodhicitta, then you need to reflect the practice of the middle scope and small scope being. Actual practice, it has two parts: meditative posture and the meditative process itself. Then how we should do meditation, the posture. I think all of you know. Number one, cross your legs in the manner of the Venerable Vairochana. That means cross your leg half or complete cross. The second, your eyes should be neither wide open nor too far closed. Right? You must do the cross your leg, and your eyes should not be neither wide open, then nor too far close. That means slightly close, not too open. Third, sit with your awareness directed inward, keeping your body straight, without leaning too far back or being bent too far forward. That means you should not be too much bent, just keep very straight. 4, keep your shoulder straight. 5, do not raise up, lower your head, nor turn into on inside. Right? Keep your body, upper body very straight. Should not bend too much back and what? Very straight. And your neck should not be like this, huh? Should not be, should not be too raised up. Do not rest or your lower your heads nor turn into on one inside. Sit it so that your nose and navel, your nose and navel are, elegant, rested. Right? Your nose and navel. Somebody big stomach. It's big difficult. Anyway, just make sure your upper body is very straight. Then 6, set your teeth and lip in their usual. Okay, you don't worry about lip and your teeth. You should not have to be really close, not or just as normal, usual. Natural position. Draw your tongue up close to your upper teeth. The tongue. You must touch in the upper tongue, because if you stay maybe long meditation, it help you to stop thirsty. Also stop to come out the watery from your mouth. 7, the 8, your inhalation and exhalation should not be noisy, force. Let it flow effortlessly. At the beginning when you do the meditation, you really feel your breath is short, sometimes too short, sometimes too long. But you just, breath naturally, should not make a noisy, should not make a force to breathe in and out. So then explain why we have to do, the posture, this upper body very straight. Then it explain here. This posture, which is the body is pulled together well, is conducive to the raising up buoyancy. So when your upper body is very straight, then you feel very comfortable. You stop to have a lazy mind and sleeping mind. Sleep. So this is I want to explain in the beginning of the meditation. Now there's another few important. Next, the object. Okay, so now which object we must select? Most of you, when you do meditation, what kind of object, what of things you focus? Breathing and other. Okay. Yeah, of course, many people has a different, I think, chosen object. Generally, Buddha introduced 4 objects of the meditation. 4 objects. First, kind of reflection. That means any kind of object you can focus. Most important, you must focus. I told you in the beginning, you must focus on the image in your mind. Okay, it's very important. You should not look at the object or external. I think this is the book number. Yeah, The object of meditation themselves, the Bhagavan stated that yogis have 4 types of object of meditation. This began universal object of meditation. Universal object of meditation, number 1. Number 2, object of meditation for purifying your behavior. Clear? Object of meditation for purifying your behavior. Third, object of meditation for expertise. Yeah. Number 4, object of meditation for purifying afflictions. For object. Number 1, universal object. Universal object of meditation are 4 types. 4 types. A, discursive image. Discursive. Discursive. Number B, non-discursive image. C, the limit of the existence. And D, achievement of your purpose. Okay, so we don't have enough time to explain. So next class, we more go precisely the object of meditation. Okay, so since today, if you really, have been doing the meditation, which is I explained best of the Lamrim, you continuously do this way. If you have you have been doing in different way, then you must know how the body posture you must do. Second, you must know the inner, condition. Third, then you must realize the benefit of meditation and disadvantage of the, not doing meditation. Then you must know, I must do the both meditation. One is the mindfulness, second is special insight. If I do only one, I cannot achieve, the lasting or, ultimate happiness. Okay, so today we just do the short meditation based on the 4 noble truths, the truth of suffering. Within the truth of suffering, first you remember, first we go through, everybody, reflect, for a while for truth of suffering. You can experience your own suffering, physical, mental, whatever. Second, you focus, meditate on the origin of suffering, ignorance, then attachment, then anger. Now all the actions, positive, negative, whatever arise through, ignorance, attachment, desire. Due to the cause and condition of suffering, then I have a suffering. The suffering can be reduced if I cultivate the path. The beginning of the cultivation of the path, meditate on impermanence. When you think about impermanence, there's a gross and subtle. Today you just meditate on very subtle, very fine impermanence. That means everything, every condition, phenomena, changing momentarily, minute by minute. So again, you should not, too open your eyes, should not too close. Make sure you're able to see, your like your body. That means you are not fully close. Okay, so most important, when you do meditation, at the beginning you should not try to do, the meditation for a long time. First, as a beginner, you do like 1 minute. 1 minute fully focus, try to focus, then take a rest. Second time, you do like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and 10 minutes. Then take a rest. Okay? If you try to do the meditation for a long time, then next day you don't want to do. You feel so tired. That's why Lama Tsongkhapa said, as a beginner, you do the short, but many times. Then the meditation become, bit better. Then you try to do the bit longer. Make sure you should not, put too much force to do you should not put too much force in your mind to focus on object. You cannot, because our mind is look like, very wild animal, look like, spoiled child. The child is completely spoiled. If you put discipline, the child cannot. So do short time, but many times. Slowly, then you can do, bit longer time. Okay, so thank you so much for attending the class. Next time we go more in detail about the object. Then what person do what meditation. So we can also discuss for the next class. Thank you so much, and we do the dedication prayers.